Don't feel like I belong anywhere.
Yeah, right, sure.
When I don't measure up to much in this life, oh, I'm a treasure in the arms of Christ. When I forgive it, oh, I forgive it.
From where? Oh, yeah.
One with God, the Lord Most High.
He had the closing was yesterday on the Sunday.
Your hidden glory in creation.
No, he didn't. He didn't have to go.
Now revealed in you, our Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is, and nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus. You didn't want heaven without us, so Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a wonderful name it is. And nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus.
2 seconds. 4 minutes? Got it. Yeah, Larry King. Larry King, big guy. Hey.
Death could not hold you. The veil tore before you. You silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring, the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again. You have no rival, you have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is. What a
Hi, folks. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I want to thank Patty, Matt, doing a great job there tonight, putting this on together. I am going to ask, since we have a nice audience, I am going to ask you to applaud at one point, and so what I will be doing is I'll throw it to you. Let's give a round of applause to Monsignor Neider. When I start, but I will cue you when that happens. And Jack Sheehan, no heckling, please. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. We're gonna have some great questions, and really looking forward to being with all you tonight. So thank you very much.
He wanted to have an applause sign, but I said.
Yep. Well, good evening, everybody. It is my honor and privilege to be with you tonight. We have a wonderful crowd here at St. Helens, and we have a terrific crowd with all of you at home for tonight's conversation with Reverend Monsignor Thomas Neidiger. Before we start, I want to tell a little story as we get into the Q&A and a lot of fun. We have got great questions from you all who've put on our website and put it all in. But I want to tell a quick story about two fantastic interviewers. You'll remember them from their credentials. One was Ted Koppel from ABC News, and one was the great Larry King. And they were having dinner in Washington one night. And Ted Koppel turned to Larry and says, "You know the difference between you and me? If we were covering the same fire, and we saw a firefighter come right out of the burning building, I would ask as a journalist, how'd the fire start? Is everyone okay? Was this arson? But you, Larry, would ask, why did you want to become a firefighter?" In other words, Larry was more interested in the person than the story. Well, tonight, we're going to learn more about the person. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Reverend Thomas Neidiger. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to be with you tonight.
Thank you all for coming.
Absolutely. Let's start with Larry King's question. Why'd you want to become a firefighter? No. Why did you want to become a priest?
It's very bad when you pause like that long when you should be able to have an answer right away. No, but I do have an answer. As far back as I can remember, I was thinking about being a priest. I guess the first time I ever thought about being a priest was in the 4th grade. Not seriously, but I did it. I said that I wanted to be a priest to get out of trouble with Sister Vincent. So I told her I wanted to be a priest so I would not get into any trouble. And then the second time that I thought about it, I thought more seriously about it, was when I was in the 7th grade. And it was at that time that Archbishop Boland, the former Archbishop of Newark, had died. And my 7th grade teacher, believe me, talk about how times have changed. My 7th grade teacher said to us, would anyone like to go to the wake down at the cathedral in Newark? And I, being a Bergen County boy growing up in Glen Rock, I said, sure, I'd love to leave the country for a little while. And so I went with him. 3 of us went with him. And on the way down, he was trying to encourage us to be priests. You know, there were 3 of us in the car. And he said, you know, if you become a priest, all your sins that you've ever committed are forgiven you. And then he said, you can never, ever sin again. So I thought that wasn't a bad deal, so it brought me one step closer, but I also find it amusing that the means sometimes that God uses to communicate with you. And one was to get out of trouble, one was to get out of trouble. So both times were to get out of trouble, but throughout my high school, I thought about being a priest. I really, really seriously thought about becoming a priest. I was all through my, growing up, my formative years, I was growing up in a very faith-filled family, in a faith-filled parish. In my high school years, I was involved with a very, very active youth group. But a lot of support from family, a lot of support from the youth group, a lot of support from the parish community that I was in. And that's really where I think I was it provided for me the environment that was necessary for God to speak to me and for me to really discern that call. So it was always a desire. I remember going on a retreat at Felician College when I was in high school, and it was a retreat run by the Franciscans. And the Franciscans ran this retreat, and I can remember the theme of it was take your passion and make it happen. You might remember that from the movie that, I forget the movie. What was the movie? Flashdance. Thank you very, very much. And there I was sitting there thinking, and I said to myself, well, what's my passion? What is my passion as a young high schooler? And I really, really had to say that my passion was Jesus Christ. And, I mean, can you imagine how weird a high schooler saying that your passion is Jesus Christ? But that's what it was. And it was, the whole idea of bringing Jesus Christ to people, and as Christ had been brought to me, and I thought, I want to do that. I used to sit at Mass on Sundays, and I'd listen to the homily. And I'd always sit there and think to myself, see, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done it differently. I would have said this. I would have said that. Here I am critiquing as a young kid the homily that was given. But it was just, I think, a progressive hearing of God's call and responding to it.
But several people at high school age weigh the chances to become a priest, and they go another route. Was there an aha moment right in that moment where you said, I'm going to become a priest?
Well, I think I had been thinking about it for a long time. And not, I think, those two stories, the fourth grade story and seventh grade story, were kind of just, God's way of breaking in. But in my high school years, I was really seriously thinking about it. I was very involved with the retreat program in my youth group. And then, I went off to college, and I was very involved with the campus ministry there. And it was, it kept growing in me with each passing day, each passing year. But I have to admit, when it came time to sign on the dotted line to enter the seminary, I paused. And I said, do I really want to do this? And so I sat there and I thought about it, and I picked up the pen and I signed the paper, and I entered the seminary. But I think the primary aha moment that I had, and I know I preached about it here at St. Helen's, I think I preached about it once, was I was on a retreat. I forget what year I was on, and the priest who was giving the retreat, who was on, the spiritual director of the retreat, had just given a talk, Encountering God in Jesus Christ. And it was just very, very moving. And it was just around dusk, the sun was going down, and the sun was shining into the thing, and there was a picture of Jesus in the front with a candle by it. And I can remember sitting there just looking at that picture, and I was just captivated by it. And it was at that moment that I really, really heard the voice of Jesus say to me, I love you. And that was all he said. Don't think I'm crazy. I was hearing voices. But it was a moment that was just unlike any other. It was an encounter with the risen Jesus Christ, who really just simply said, I love you. And I said to myself, if I can bring that love to one other person, then that will be the most fulfilling thing that I can do. So that was the moment, I think.
If you look at Monsignor Tom's background and his education, Fairfield University and Seton Hall, education plays a really important part of your life. Why is it so important?
Well, I was always I always considered myself academically challenged as a kid growing up. And I had to work really hard. I had to work hard to do well. I can remember as a young kid having tutors that would teach me, I can remember sitting in the hallway in the grammar school, and I can remember a classmate who was tutoring me in math, and it was just really, really hard, but I said I really had to put a lot of effort into it, a lot of time, and eventually, as I continued to go through study, it became important because I just really, really wanted to do well, and I saw it as being important, moving through high school. I went to Bergen Catholic High School in Oradell. I went to Fairfield University in Connecticut. Then I went to the seminary at Seton Hall. And then after that, I was asked to get my doctorate in education. It was kind of like, it was more or less where I was led, and I just followed. And I see how important education, learning can be, and that learning continues throughout a lifetime. It continues each and every day of your life. And the last 2 months here at St. Helen have been a tremendous learning experience and a real education.
Well, let's get to some of the questions that you all had put in and to the system here. Let's talk about St. Helens. Welcome. We're thrilled to have you. What has been your greatest challenge in the last 2 months?
The greatest challenge in the last 2 months. I don't know if I could say that publicly. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You know what? The greatest challenge has probably been to really build on what you have all built here at St. Helen. That's, I think, the single biggest challenge that confronts me right now. It's incredible. Really, it is incredible, the reputation that St. Helen has in the Archdiocese of Newark. I remember when I was named a pastor, more than one, especially people even down at the Chancery, said, "You're at the best parish in the Archdiocese." And that was not with any kind of bias. They knew about St. Helen. They knew what had been accomplished here. And I know what you've all built here. I know what Bishop Michael led you and shepherded you in doing that, and his predecessors, and to pick up the mantle of what you have accomplished and what he has accomplished and what together you've accomplished here, and to bring it to the next level. I think that's the biggest challenge that I'm facing, how to bring it to the next level, how to not just to maintain and not just to sustain, but to really, really break it open and really, really take us to heights that I know we can go, and I know you can go. You've proven it. And so I think the biggest challenge that I look at least in the broad term, is how do we build on what we have, and how do we continue going in the direction we're going?
You know, St. Helens is a large parish, yes. A lot of people. Do you find it difficult learning the names of parishioners?
Well, I did have an advantage. I had an advantage since I've been coming here for 6 years on weekends, and I learned a lot of names. I learned a lot of people in those 6 years. So I really, really got to know a lot of people. So I'm very good. I have a head start. Let's say I have a head start. And even before I was coming here the last 6 years, even before that, I had been here for a few years as well. So I had some good foundations. So I knew a lot of names before I came here. But I'm striving to learn the names and learn the names of people. And I just have to say something that would be very, very helpful is if on Touchpoint, the platform that we have, you can put your pictures on the platform. If you could put your picture on that platform, it would be very, very helpful, because I can't tell you how many times I went to that to see if I could make a connection with a face and a name, because I know a lot of faces, but the names sometimes evade me. So put your picture up so that I can make that connection, but I look forward to learning the names of all of you.
Well, thank you for that answer, Fred. Let's go to construction. It's on everyone's mind. It's something that is top of mind of parishioners. Any date that you can give in the sense that you're working toward? Is the Cardinal going to be coming out for the new opening and to dedicate the new home? Can you give us some insights into that?
That's a good one. In the Catholic Church, we have a big major role that is played are the mysteries of the faith, the mysteries of the Trinity, the mysteries of the Incarnation, the mysteries of the Rosary. There are many mysteries, and perhaps one of the biggest mystery is the date when the new church will open. But please know, I do not make light of it. I don't, at this particular juncture, do not want to commit to a date because just in terms of moving forward with the construction, we did meet some hurdles. We did meet some obstacles. Bishop Michael met them before he left, and he left them for me as we follow up. But and that's to be understood. It happens, and that happens with any construction project. But we have the workers back on site. They're back up on the roof. The roof is almost done. The carpenters, the plumbers, the electricians, the fire people are in the building inside working on what they need to get done. We're moving ahead, and it is an effort. We keep on pushing. I'm grateful to some parishioners who have been very, very helpful in that process. But it is going to be a final push, and we're pushing hard. We're pushing really, really hard, and our hope is that sooner rather than later. And that's as specific as I can get right now. But it's coming. It's coming, and I can just assure you that we will keep on pushing until that building is done to our satisfaction, to your satisfaction, and the way it needs to be done, so that we can worship as a community of faith in a beautiful spot, and it's going to be beautiful.
In your career, have you ever worked on a project to this magnitude?
When I was in the Vicar General's office, not to the degree in terms of being at the site that there were a lot of projects that were overseen or supervised or overseen by the officials at the Chancery. So I had some exposure to that as Vicar General, but not to the degree that I have here. Here it's you're right. You're right at the site, and you're dealing with the contractors, the subcontractors, the people that are actually doing the work. And so it is a challenge, but it's one that, so much, believe me when I tell you, I think about 80% of the job is done. And we just have to bring in that final 20%. So,
Tom, you mentioned your experience as Vicar General. What were some of your duties?
All right. When I started there as Vicar General, my title was Vicar General and Moderator of the Curia, and so basically, as a Vicar General, canon law gives you certain responsibilities and certain rights or privileges and/or jobs that you have to do. Most of them are revolving around canonical issues that have to do with clergy, that have to do with the pastoral care of the people in the entire archdiocese, and many different levels, to deal with that. As moderator of the Curia are the central offices of the diocese, and so as moderator of the Curia, you kind of oversaw and facilitated the work of each of the departments, whether it be the schools office, catechetical office, property administration. You kind of moderated those realities. So it was pretty broad, pretty expansive, very, very administrative. And one of the great privileges of the job is that you really did get to deal with every single problem that ever happens in the archdiocese. What was that like?
What was that like?
That was it was challenging. That was a very, very challenging part of the job. We as a church are living through difficult times, times that are no stranger to any of you here at St. Helens, with the scandals that we learn of, and the priests and the way that unfolds, and we're in the wake of lots of news that we get each and every day, and accusations are made, and you have to deal with them. And it's not an easy thing to be able to stand or sit and meet with the priest and say, you have to step away. And that was very hard.
How painful was it to do that?
It was, it was very, very painful, because I think, it's just, priests are feeling very, very vulnerable. We always say that you're a phone call away from anything that could be disruptive or take you out of ministry. And to be the one to have to deliver that message is not an easy thing to do. To see the impact that it has on the people that you're talking to, and to walk with them through it. But you try your best to walk with them as best as you can, to be cognizant of the harm that has been done. You can't justify that, and you find yourself walking a fine line between many different factors, and so it's going to be a tough thing to maneuver yourself through those times.
What do you think the Catholic Church needs to do to kind of rebuild its reputation?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you think the church needs to do?
Well, I think perhaps most importantly, the church has to keep on doing what the Lord has called it to do. I don't think we can shy away from proclaiming the gospel. I don't think we can shy away from evangelizing people. I don't think we can, we have to just keep on with passion and with conviction, living out our faith, bearing witness to our faith, striving to be faithful to what the Lord calls each one of us to, and to persevere. And to persevere. Many of the Gospels and many of the letters of Paul were written to communities that were in conflict, that were in, having difficulties, having challenges. And the message is always, do not be afraid and persevere, persist. And so I think we have no choice. We have no choice. We have to, there is a God, our God, who loves us profoundly and wants that love communicated. And it's up to all of us, each in our own way, whether as priest, as layperson, or whatever role we play in the church. We've got to be able to carry on that mission of Jesus Christ, to bring it to people without fear, without embarrassment, without any kind of apologies. And I think we got to step up our efforts each and every day. And that's kind of where I see that the idea here is. The efforts that have been in place here at St. Helen have been extraordinary. And I think we can be really a model and an example for other communities of faith in terms of what we can do to communicate God's love, to live that love out, and to bring that love of God to people.
Well said. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. We've now come to the portion of the interview where we're now going to do the lightning round. First thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay? Ready? Are you ready?
Word association.
Word association. And some multiple choice here. Mets versus Yankees.
Mets.
Giants versus Jets.
Giants.
Mountains versus beach.
Mountains.
Go. Favorite meal.
Macaroni and cheese with hot dogs.
Favorite late night snack. You're home, it's 11:30, you're hungry, you stumble out of bed, you go down to the refrigerator. What's your favorite late night snack?
Oh God. Anything that's in the refrigerator. I have to say, anything that's there, it depends upon the night.
Favorite moment in your career?
Favorite moment I have so many. No. Favorite moment in my career. I'd have to say that probably my favorite moment, or my greatest moment, was the day that I was ordained a priest. I really do. I mean, I just remember that day just as being the most profound change. I wish that I could be as holy as John the 23rd, who said the greatest day of his life was the day he was baptized. And that was a great day because it made ordination possible. But that day, we had gone on a retreat beforehand, and we had gone on, into the ordination. I was really, really focused on what's going to happen there. And it really was the purpose of one of the greatest moments. And of course, it just gave way to the moments that have followed, and the assignments that I've had, the people that I've met, the people that I've ministered to. I mean, it's all connected. That's all connected. And None of this could have happened. This night could not have happened if it weren't for that day. So I'd say that's probably the greatest moment.
Favorite athlete?
Favorite athlete? Eli, I don't think I have one.
Okay. Favorite musician?
Bruce Springsteen.
There we go. That'll.
Without question.
There you go. What is it about him you like?
It was, I guess it was as a high schooler, I heard one of the first albums I ever bought out of curiosity was Born to Run. And so I bought Born to Run, and I fell in love with every song on it, and I just loved it. And I just liked his style. I liked his music.
Spoken like a true Jersey guy. Favorite film?
Oh, there's a couple. I have to say Titanic, A Few Good Men, Trading Places. These are the ones that I'll watch on TV when I'm flipping through. Those are some of them.
Favorite vacation spot?
Disney World.
Why?
You know what? I was when I was still in grammar school. It was one Christmas morning, and we came down and we opened our gifts, and it was always a very great moment. And then we got the last gift, and the last gift was an envelope. So we thought it was, we didn't know what it was. So we opened it up, and it was a trip to Disney World with the whole family. And I went there, and I just had the greatest time in the world. And then every time I've been back, it's been like entering another world.
Yeah.
And it's just a great place.
Yep.
It's a magical place.
Yep. Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Any particular authors you like?
Stephen King.
Why?
I always find him very intriguing. For those of you who think, he's one of those typical horror writers, he really, really is not. He really is quite a thinker, I think, and it's it's more for casual reading. It's not my theological reading by any stretch of the imagination. But if I want to sit down and just enjoy a book and do it, it would be Stephen King.
The person, living or dead, you would most like to meet?
The person, living or dead, that I would most like to meet. Well, I know the answer that you're expecting me to say. Jesus Christ would be the one that I really, but I really can't say him because I have met him. So I really, really can't say that it would be someone that I would like to meet. I'd say the one that I'd love to meet. I'd love to talk with John F. Kennedy.
Best advice anyone ever gave you?
It was advice that someone just gave me today. Just be yourself.
Excellent. If you were given a mulligan, and for those non-golfers, that is a do-over.
Do you know how many mulligans I've taken in my life?
Are you a golfer?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, I just re-picked it up again, thanks to your prior pastor.
Well, don't play with Mark Zoller. He'll take your money. If you had a do-over, though.
If what?
If you had a do-over in your career, what do you think it would be?
If I had a do-over, what would I do? I'd have to say that one of the things that I've had a lot of assignments in my day, a lot of administrative and chancery jobs, vocation director, secretary to the bishop, vicar general, assistant to the vicar general, vice rector of the seminary. But one of the things that I did, in the midst of that was I was pastor at St. Philomena's in Livingston. I loved being a pastor. I loved everything about it. It was just so much. It was just, always what I had envisioned it to be, but so much more. And I guess if I had a do-over, it would have been that I would not have left parish ministry. And thankfully, God has put me back into it. So I'm grateful for that.
I think we know the answer to this next question, but if you were trapped in a foxhole and you needed someone to help you out, who would that person be?
without question, Bishop Michael Saporito.
Awesome.
He was. I've known him for, and many of you may know this. I've known him for 30 years. No, actually more than 30 years. I knew him from the 4 years in the seminary, so probably about 32 years. And we became friends very, very early on in our seminary career. And it's a friendship that has just grown and flourished over the years. And it's just a great reward and a great blessing in my life. He has been a supporter, he's been a friend, he's been a colleague, he's been a mentor, he's been a spiritual director. He's been one that has just stood by me, and I've tried to return the favor to him, but he is in my eyes, just an incredible friend, an incredible priest, an incredible bishop, and one that I just love very, very dearly.
You recall, I guess, before COVID, when we all gathered here in February, and the emotion that Bishop Michael had for you. Very, very wonderful to see. Now, the Cracker Jack Research Department here came up with this nugget, and I just want to make sure I get this right. Is it true that when you negotiated to come here, that you wanted more centipedes around the house, and that you love those little critters with long legs, and that you asked for more of them?
No, not at all. Not at all. I would rather be in a room with a ferocious tiger than any kind of insect. That's
a little birdie gave me that nugget.
What?
A little birdie gave me that nugget. So let's go back to some of the questions from our viewers. One of the things that we had talked about, again, is obviously the construction. And one question from one of our viewers is, will there be any opportunities to donate an item in the newly built church that might be not quite as expensive as the first round of items?
Yeah, we're right now we're in the process of exploring other possibilities that people can, because as you get toward the end of a project, you realize there are certain things that you do have and that you don't have, and the things that you need. So we're in the process of putting together a list of things that are going to be needed that will be less costly and a little bit more manageable. We're working on that even as we speak.
Thank you very much for that. Question for you about your leadership style. Mm-hmm. Can you share with our viewers and the folks here what your leadership style is about?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important to exercise leadership in a collaborative manner, that we work together. I did my doctorate in education. It was in the School of Leadership Management and Policy. So I've been exposed to many models of leadership, and leadership that has each style has its advantages, has its disadvantages, has its good things and its bad things. But I just think that in a certain sense, you gotta lead with the people in mind that you're leading, the people who are leading with you. And the people that are following, and I think we need to. It's a very consultative process. It's a very collaborative process. It's a very cooperative process, I believe, and one that taps into the imagination, the power that each individual can bring to a table or can bring to an issue. I have no delusions that I corner the market on knowing the pathway that we need to go down, and so oftentimes when I'm at a meeting with one individual, with several individuals, with staff, with parish leaders or volunteers and everything, I want to hear what people are thinking. I want to hear the ideas that they're bringing. I want to be able to bounce ideas off of them. Especially when you're starting off, when you're starting out. And trying to understand, coming to St. Helen on weekends on a Sunday is very, very different from being its pastor, and so to learn the hopes, the dreams, the desires that people have, and to respond to them, I think it's something that we do together, and it has to be that. I don't think there's, and oftentimes I will consult. I'll consult people. I think you need to listen. I think you need to listen to everybody, listen to what they have to say, listen to the ideas that they have, and listen even to the criticisms, listen to the compliments, listen to the advantages and disadvantages, and then work through with your people that you're serving and you're leading. Work with them to come up with the direction and the pathway that you need to go. So I think that's kind of what would be my style moving forward. I don't know, perhaps some of the staff members here might be able to speak. I think I'm very decisive. I think I certainly have in my mind, but it's not without listening and consulting, what I hear. And sometimes you encounter situations where you're in caught between a rock and a hard place, and that's when you have to step up and make the decision and do it with pastoral care, with charity, with love, with hope. But I think that you need to listen, you need to take it in, and then you need to kind of lead, because I think that's where people want you to go. But I believe that we all do it together.
It seems to me that listening is one of the best traits to be a leader. Do you believe that?
I do. I think listening is very, very important. I remember when I went, my first assignment was at Immaculate Conception in Secaucus, New Jersey. I was there for 3 years. And I remember as I got there, the pastor, Father Jerry Long, he was a great man. He was your typical Jersey City, Hudson County guy. He used to boast about how he walked through the Holland Tunnel when it opened. And the sum total of what he told me when I got there in terms of my responsibilities as my first pastor, as I was sitting down with him for the first time, and he was going to tell me what my responsibilities were in that parish. And this was the sum total of what he said to me: do whatever you want. Now, here you have a guy who's a little bit on the obsessive-compulsive side. Just a little bit. Father Gabriel, who had, for all of his years in high school, college, and the seminary, had gotten a syllabus at the beginning of each semester, so I knew exactly what I needed to do, who would be able to take a list of tasks and be able to probably execute it well. The worst thing that any pastor could say to me is, do whatever you want. It was like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? But then I remember I said to myself, okay, I just got to listen. I got to listen to what the needs are and hear what it is. And then many years later, the deacon of the parish came up to me and he said, there was one thing that stuck out to me about what you did that very first meeting that we had and throughout that first year. And I said, what was that? What was my brilliant leadership model? What was my brilliant idea? What did I do? And he simply said, you sat there and you listened. You sat there and you listened to what he had to say. And so I think listening is a vital part of it, a vital part of leadership. You got to be able to hear and to be able to know where your people are at, know where their needs are, know where their needs are. I once was a mentor for a newly ordained priest years ago, and he went to a parish, and he was having some difficulties there at the parish. He was, his pastor was being critical of him because he wasn't as present as he could have been, and and other things that he was going here and going there, and doing lots of different things all over the place. So I sat there and I said to him at one of our meetings, I said to him, when you think about the people of your parish and you think about who they are, and what their needs are, and what they're asking you for, and what you're doing, are you meeting every conceivable and possible need that your people have? Now, I built it up because I was building it up to say, no, there's no way you can respond to every need. Well, his answer was yes. I was like, okay, all right, let's retrace this, let's build it back again. But, when you listen to people and you listen to them the needs just come out. The needs come out, and I think one of the greatest surprises is that, and not so much a surprise as a refreshing surprise, is people still need their parish. They still need their priests. They still need the Eucharist. They still need the Lord, and they're looking for Him. And they're looking for Him, and that's what we gotta give.
You mentioned one role model. Any other role models that have influenced you in your career?
Yeah, I don't know if Father Gabriel and I were talking about this the other night. There was a time when I was the secretary to the bishop, and the Pope was coming, and it wasn't actually the fact that I met the Pope, but he was coming to visit Newark. I mean, some of you may recall that visit that Pope John Paul II made to Newark. But as part of the visit, obviously many bishops from around the country were invited to come, and one bishop that came was Bishop Bernardin from Chicago. He came to and he was actually staying in the cathedral residence where I was living at the time. And I was sort of put in charge of making sure he got picked up at the airport, brought to the rectory, got settled in his room, and then, when he left, too. So, I had the sum total of about maybe, a couple of, half hour with him, sometime in the car. I carried his bag up to his room and settled him there. And then when he was leaving, I took his bag down to the car and I drove him to the airport. And, I didn't even think he remembered what my name was. And about 5 days later, I received a letter in the mail from Cardinal Bernardin thanking me for my hospitality. And I just thought that was, something as simple as a thank you that, for a no-name that, you probably didn't, but he wrote this letter. I had it framed, and I said to Father Gabriel, I have to put it up in my office because it's a constant reminder to me of the kind of priest you need to be grateful for the people, however great or however small the task that they've done, to really, really be grateful and to express that gratitude to them, and to let them know, that you're grateful for what they've done. He was just a shining example. He also was a man who was very much maligned. An accusation was made against him, and he was kind of maligned by even some prelates in the church, at the time. And what he was trying to do was he was trying to bring people together. He was trying to dispel division and trying to bring unity to people, bring unity to the church. We were in the midst of a post-conciliar church that has, that's perdured to this day, and we see those divisions. But he was trying to unify, and he didn't let that the criticisms and the difficulties. It didn't deter him from preaching the gospel and living out the gospel really in a very, very real way. So he's certainly one model for me.
Can you identify 2 or 3 things that you learned from your parents?
2 or 3 things that I learned from my parents. Well, I think first and foremost, I learned love. I think I remember a family that was just filled with love. I have to, not to deter from one side of the equation, but my mom, just to this day, has just been an incredible source of love for me and taught me so many, many different things. The support that they gave me, and the encouragement that they gave me. And it was something that I got from my family. I remember when I was in high school and I was thinking about being a priest, I never said anything to anybody. I was afraid. I was afraid to say anything that I was thinking about being a priest. As I got through the end of college, going through college, I thought to myself, I've got to tell somebody something soon because it'll determine the way my education moves forward, And I just was really, really, and I didn't want to say, which was kind of ironic in a family that was so faith-filled and so supportive of the church and my involvement in the church. Why I was afraid, I don't know. But I remember that Sunday afternoon. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Sun was shining. I was in my room doing homework, and my mother came into the room, and she sat down on the bed. She looked at me and she said, "Tommy, have you ever thought about being a priest?" And I was like, the opportunity of a lifetime. And I didn't shy away from it, so I said yes, and we talked about it, and and it was just a great liberating feeling to know that. Then we were, the one that I was afraid of was my father, because my father kept on saying to me all through our lives, if you want to be successful in life, you got to get into a profession. You got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer, you got to be an accountant. He was an accountant. That's what you got to do. So I was afraid to tell him because I thought maybe he'd, react very, very negatively. So I figured the best time to tell him would be when we're on vacation. So we were up in Vermont, and I said, okay, this is the night I'm going to tell him that I'm going to tell him that I'm thinking about being a priest. I think I want to be a priest. And so we had dinner, and we went outside by the side of the brook there, and we were sitting there, and just I was thinking, how am I going to start this? How am I going to start this? And I didn't have to, because my dad said, Tommy, let's talk about what you're going to do with your life. Another door opened for me to be able to tell him. And he was totally supportive. And he just, like my mom said, we want you to do whatever's going to make you happy. Whatever's going to make you happy. And my brother was very, very supportive. My sister couldn't understand it. She couldn't understand it. She said, why would you want to do that? Don't you want to get married? Don't you want to have a family? Don't you want to have children? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand why you want to do this. And she didn't do it. She just didn't understand. And then finally, on my ordination day, she came up to me and she said after the ceremony, she said, now I know why. It was very moving, But the support that they gave, the love that they gave, the way they, stood by me. And I've done that through the years. Yeah.
Well, where do you fall in the birth order?
My brother Kevin is a year and a day older than I. He was born January 5th. I was of 65. I was January 6th of 66. My brother Patrick was born in 1969. Unfortunately, my brother passed away when he was 19 months. It was a big loss obviously for the family. I was young at the time. I do remember him. I have isolated remembrances of him, but he died when he was 19 months, and then my sister came about 6 years behind Patrick. So it's Kevin, Tommy, Patrick, Maura.
Did that sense of loss shape your career?
I think it did. I can remember my brother's buried up in Maryrest, up in Mawa. That was where he was buried. And I can remember as a kid, my parents would go up to Maryrest to visit the grave. So we'd go up and visit the grave. And I, as a kid, I always loved it. I thought, oh my God, we're going out it's a road trip, we're having a trip, we're going to have fun. And then when you got there, it was, there was trees and there was grass and you could run around. And I was like, this is exciting. And I thought, wow. I said, I can actually go up to that stone and see our name engraved in the stone. I was like really, really excited about it. I always enjoyed going up there. So obviously a kid that really didn't grasp, the fullness of what thing. But the one thing that I do remember is the one thing that I absolutely hated about that trip was the ride in the car home, because I knew that my mother was brokenhearted and she was sad and she was crying. And that's what I remember. And so I hated that part, the part of driving home. And that's something that I had sort of in my mind. But I think it did. I think, when I think about it, I think it had probably more impact on me than I ever realized, and that I even realize to this day, growing up in that environment. And the thing, the one thing that I can say is that it probably had an impact because it probably brought great sadness to my mother and father, obviously, and to my my grandparents and everything. But the one thing that I think it probably would have been there, but even in spite of that, the love that was in that family was from my mom and my dad and everything was just extraordinary. It was it really, really just floored me. When that. But I think Chris had a bigger impact than even I realize now. But I was so young at the time. It was difficult to really ascertain. And sometimes I wonder, how it has impacted me as a person, as a priest. I mean, obviously, we all have had losses in our life, and we've all had, I don't remember Patrick that well. I have a picture in my room of the last picture of him when he was alive, and it was me. It was in the wintertime, we were outside, and and I'm standing there, and Patrick's standing there. But it's just a reminder to me that, that he had a deep impact on our family's life. And it was a positive one. And, you've all experienced losses and profound hurts, of losing somebody. So you know what I'm talking about, and you've experienced it too. And how does it impact you, and how does it bear itself out in your life? How does it affect the decisions you make, the choices you make? I think it probably has a more profound effect than at least I know that I can really, really identify for myself.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to play one more quick game. It's called Did You Ever? Did You Ever? And so, obviously, Monsignor, you know where you are, so you got to kind of tell the truth here.
Oh.
And
sounds more like truth or dare.
Not kind of fub these answers. Number one, did you ever eat an entire pizza?
No.
Did you ever?
I tried, but no. Well, it depends. If it's a little personal pizza, yes.
Yes. Did you ever talk your way out of a traffic ticket?
No.
Did you ever lie to your dad?
Yes.
Did you ever look in the mirror, look at yourself, and kind of say, man, I got it going on?
I what?
Man, I got it going on.
You know what? I'm actually going to tell you quite the opposite. And it might tie in actually to the question, not to belabor it, but I always thought, you poor thing, when I looked in the mirror, that you turned out looking the way you look. Really. I really did. I can remember as a little kid in my mother's room looking over and looking up saying, I said, I say, God, couldn't you have done a little bit better by me, that time? But no, I've never said, you got to go, and that's for sure.
Did you ever get into a fight at school, and how did you handle it?
I walked away, but I never got in a fight. I just was punched.
Got it.
I was taunting somebody. It was a little bit of a scutch.
Turn the other cheek?
Yeah. No, get away from danger.
Did you ever cut the line at Disney?
No. No.
Did you ever send a meal back to the kitchen?
No.
Do you sleep with the phone at your bed? Because I understand you don't sleep.
It's right next to my bed on my nightstand, yeah.
And lastly, we talked about Disney. We talked about vacation. We talked about time away. What do you like to do when you're off the clock? Like, what do you like to do to unwind?
Mm-hmm. I think I enjoy watching a good movie, reading a good book, sleeping. I've recently gotten back into golf, so that's, and actually one of the biggest surprises is it's not reflected in the scorecard by any chance, but I'm not doing too badly, the short game is weak, but I'm doing not too badly, so those are the types of things.
Arnold Palmer said the quickest way to reduce your score is use an eraser. What is the biggest misperception, Tom, about from other people about a priest?
The biggest misconception?
Misperception.
I think that's a good question, and I think you'd probably get a lot of varied answers. And I think the priests that I know, but whether it be by virtue of my job my role as a priest, or as the ones that I know, is they're such. I think it goes into, they're such a diverse group. They really are. There's so many different styles, different colors, and different motivations. And it's really, sometimes I think, sometimes that we can fit priests into a certain stereotype. And I've never experienced that. I mean, just knowing priests, they're human beings. They struggle like everybody else. They sin like everybody else. They soar like everybody else, and there's just a whole gamut that they run in terms of who they are and the gifts they bring and the struggles they have. So I think to break free of the stereotypes and just and to see them as being each one being very, very unique, very, very different, and very, very capable of many different things.
You have a message for the parish about this unprecedented time in our nation's history with the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And what any message you want to send to the parish about getting through this difficult time? Mm-hmm.
I think I would maybe just to make it simple, let's knock them dead. Let's knock them dead with the gospel. Let's really, really just keep on going. I know there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of just depression. I went to my doctor for a physical recently. The very first question he asked me when I walked in the room, "Are you depressed?" But I think this pandemic has placed limitations on all of us that are jarring, that are difficult. They lead to a great deal of fear and uncertainty moving forward. But I think we need to find ways to sustain and continue what beautiful things have been done here and are being done here and have historically been done here. I think we got to continue to find whatever means we can to really, really build on what we had and just hit it out of the ballpark, literally. I think we can do it. I think we can do it. I think there's opportunities, there's openings, and I think I want to fly, I want to soar, and I want everyone here to do the same. It's part of the message series that we're in the middle right now, Dream a Whole New World. And I think we can do that, and we have to do that. I don't think we have a choice. So I really, I just want to really, really unleash the Spirit. Let's unleash the Spirit. Let's let the Spirit just break open in our lives, in our hearts, in our world, in our town, in our community, and use whatever means we can to let that happen. Whether it's when we come together, whether you're virtually online, whatever it is. I mean, there was always in Paul and Jesus, there was always an urgency. We got a lot to say, we got a lot to do, we got a lot ahead of us, and and if we don't do it, who will? So I think I just really just want to be able to empower, see what we can do to be not so much for me to empower, but for us to be empowered by the resurrected Christ, by the Spirit that He sent, to really, really break forth into the world and continue to do what we've been doing, not to allow this pandemic to handicap us in any way, but to really allow us to do what we need to do to really, really soar to unbelievable heights, and even bringing ourselves to a level that of endless possibilities and endless dreams. So we're positioned to do that, and I think we can continue to do that, and that's what I hope for.
Can you envision what this parish can do in a post-COVID era?
No, I cannot. I cannot, because not because of the uncertainty, not because of the limitations or that would be lifted, but I think I cannot because having heard what I've heard and experienced what I've experienced here, experienced in my days of coming here on weekends and now serving as your pastor, I don't think I can envision the heights to which we can go. I think there are just endless possibilities in front of us, and if in a post-COVID world, I think that we can unimaginable. I think in the best sense of the word, that we're going to go places, and we can go places. We have the potential, You know, when we combine our meager efforts with the Spirit and the advocate that comes, I believe that we can soar to heights that we never even imagined, and continue to build on what has already been built. So I think I say no only because it's like trying to say what heaven would be like.
You know, you talked about hope. You talked about a little touched on depression. Some of the kids today experiencing that.
Mm-hmm.
If you look in the camera, what is your message to our youth? We've got some incredible youth here who give their time, talent, and treasure to everything we do here. What message do you have for our youth?
I'm going to look at the camera and I'm going to tell the camera and to any of our youth that are out there that are listening, I want to tell you that we need you. You are the church. You are the church with us, and we need you to be present with us because of the gifts that you have, the insights that you have, the ideas that you have. You are a vital part of who we are. You know, when I was serving as Vicar General and Cardinal Tobin came and he went to all the deaneries of the Archdiocese and he listened to the people and heard back what they were saying about the different needs, and many different needs were expressed. The top need in every deanery of this Archdiocese, there are 27 of them, every deanery that we went to was youth, youth, youth. We want the youth. We want the young people to be a part of our worshiping community. We want the young people to be a part of our parish community. We want the young people to know that they are the ones that will take the mantle from us and will bring it forward and allow us to tap into the potentials and the energy that we have, because you have the energy, you have the ideas, and everyone who is not in your category wants you here. We need you here, and we want you to be a part of this great church that we have, that we've believed in, and we believe that you can bring to this parish community, and then you can bring to this church a new beginning, a revolution, and you can bring peace and serenity to the people who will pass the mantle on to you. So please, whatever it is, you are us, you're part of us, we need you. Always be with us and do what you can do. You're welcome, but even more than being welcome, you are the church that is St. Helen, as much as anybody else, as much as I am and anybody else. Be with us.
Thank you. Well, I find no better way to end this session. Monsignor Tom, I want to thank you for a most enjoyable session.
Thank you.
I hope the audience enjoyed that session. I hope the viewers at home, like yourself, enjoyed that session. And again, I hope we can do more of this. So I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you, audience, and have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good?
Shakes the whole earth with holy thunder and leaves us breathless in awe and wonder. The King of glory, the King above all kings.